Hello, everyone. This is James from Tabletop Terrors. Today we are playing Session 5 of the Iron Heart of Innis. Actually, depending on how this session goes, we may not see a Session 6, so that is certainly something that both the players and any watchers should take into account. I can't, tell exactly how it will be paced, but based on what we've gone through and stuff, we'll, we're getting real close to a finale here of what we'll call this first season. So we'll go ahead.
Are you threatening to kill us?
It's funny. I think I've actually threatened to kill you guys at the beginning of every session. So this time I'm just veiling it a little better than usual.
Gotcha.
They may meet their end. We'll put it that way. So
I wasn't sure if it was a hey, this is gonna wrap up because it's like,
or hey, I'm gonna wrap you guys up in a bone naga.
Oh, jeez.
And I think Tim dropped. Oh, there he goes.
No, did I drop?
Oh yeah, you froze for me for a moment. So we are gonna do some introductions, and we'll go from my left to right, so that is starting with you, Cassie. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about your character, all that good stuff.
Hi, I'm Cassie. I'm playing Eden Breakers. She's from the distant island home of Varnholm. She's a paladin, and she was raised in a knight, so she's kind of like minor royalty. Anyways, she's really fun to work with, so yeah. I'll be playing Eden, and feel free to check out my DeviantArt at Fox Cunning Trickster, and I got some news for pieces going. Anyways, thanks for joining us. Super excited.
Awesome. Next for me is Mike. Hit us with it, Mike.
I would hit you with the mic, but unfortunately it has some substantial dollar value, and I'm not going to do that. But I am Mike. My channel is Mike the Piper. Come join me where I am currently playing in an amazing Star Wars game with some amazing folks, including, by the very least, John Allen Large from Red Dice Diaries. And I am playing Neath Fallen Oak, someone who is very good at fetching things and shooting a bow. Look forward to play.
Awesome. All right, Tim.
So I am Tim, the other half of Tabletop Terrors, and I want to encourage everybody to check out a Facebook group that we have now. It's not necessarily Tabletop Terrors Facebook group per se, but it's called Tabletop RPGs Beyond the Rules. And if you're interested in independent publishing at all, it's a great place for resources on that kind of thing. But if you're also just interested in talking about the game, testing out a homebrew mechanic, or asking anybody's opinion on any facet of the game, it's a really good community. And so check it out on Facebook. Just type Tabletop RPGs Beyond the Rules, and James or I will approve your membership, and we'd love to have you as a part.
Yeah, awesome. All right, and over to you, T.
I am T the writer, still the only guy with no web camera, sorry. I will be playing Cryptbreaker James today. I'm the rogue of the party. I break into crypts at the behest of those who own them, so I've not actually stolen anything. I'm supposed to be there. I also run the channel T the Writer, where I do bardic retellings of D&D games that I've been a part of or have been told in great detail out of, and game reviews and stuff like that. So you guys can check it out if you like.
Awesome. And as I said before, this is part 5 of the Iron Heart of Innis. And last we left our intrepid heroes. They had just opened the doors with the help of some very interesting creatures to a very beautiful underground library. So upon the doors opening, after facing what was potential death at the hands of shooty laser guns, sort of an interesting laser trap that would turn you to ash, they open the doors, and in front of them, your characters all see a very large library, rows and rows of books. One story, but some of these the bookcases that sort of line the walls, as well as are almost set up like pews, very tall pews, potentially 20 feet high, with some of the cool ladders and things to fetch some of the higher books. And fairly large library, at least for being underground, and all across the room from you is it looks like a statue. And in fact, Eden, you have seen pictures of things, and this resembles at least what you've seen to be what you've heard referred to as these blank men that you heard of as a child, and potentially one of the most beautiful, full ancient libraries you've ever stepped foot in. What do you guys do?
Eden.
Ooh, appreciatively.
Eden would certainly look around the place, a little nonchalant at first, reserved, and she'd approach this statue a little confused and thinking back upon the depictions of these blank men. She would just kind of stare at it for a moment and then look back at the others and said, hey, remember those stories I mentioned, the blank men? This is a pretty accurate representation of, what we considered a blank man.
And it's almost a large suit of armor that not necessarily... It almost looks like, if any of you have seen constructs before, it looks like a suit of armor but with holes and bits in it that would potentially be full of a large person, a giant, maybe energy. In fact, it resembles very much so the armor that you found in Tomlin's room, as well as in other various places. Very ancient, brittle-looking armor, sort of put together to look like a statue.
This is pretty cool. Too bad Tomlin never made it in here. Or at least I assume he didn't.
That's a good question. Can we take a quick listen to make sure nobody's home?
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys would like to roll some perception for me. And when you do so, you can put that in the chat for me.
Not bad.
There you
So,
go.
a little earlier, at the end of the last session, there were some very odd creatures with large eyes in place of where maybe something's face would be. They crawled on all fours in some cases. Some stood up, green, slimy tails. Just very odd creatures that maybe you hadn't seen before, but they weren't hostile, at least. If you can remember, one of them, in fact, ran into the library doors that it was turned to ash. He's still a pile of ash sitting outside the doors to this library. So while you don't necessarily hear much beyond the odd sound of being so far underground, almost as though, if you're scuba diving, that sort of pressure, or if you were up in an airplane, where you feel that pressure on your eardrums being underground. It's a very odd sort of unsettling feeling. Some people, if they were claustrophobic or maybe had certain fears, they would certainly sometimes feel an immense need to get out of there. But again, being so far underground, that would take quite some time. All that to say that you seemingly hear some of these creatures. And as I said, the ceiling goes up fairly far, and there is actually, looking around, a balcony, but so far no real, rather a second floor where, with overlooks into the main area. But from what you can tell, seemingly no easy way to get up there. And it sounds as though some of those creatures might be walking around, milling around up there. And did you guys, do you walk through the door into the library? What?
Yeah, Eden would be in there having gone up to the statue. She still has the book, right? I believe she had the book because she went up to one of those creatures and was asking it, trying to talk to it.
Yes, I believe you had the book, and somebody else still had the heart. I want to say it was still T. Where did you guys put it back together?
I have the Iron Heart too, separate from the book.
Oh, okay. Taken out of the book, but still you have both of them.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
unless someone wrote something down different.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't believe so. I
Okay.
think that makes sense. Well, the important thing is, if you guys walk in, basically the doors begin to close by themselves, and sort of as unless anybody tries to stop them or go outside, they begin to close, sort of creak close. They're just wooden iron banded doors, but upon them closing, there's an echo, and maybe some dust falls off of it, and you hear what sounds like the trap that you disabled outside with the key, sort of spinning back up. So you could potentially get back outside because you have the key, but it might be a dangerous affair. And not very much sound is going on here. And then suddenly all of you hear a very loud, booming voice. And it doesn't really seem to come from anywhere, but you almost get the sense that it would be coming from the statue. But that doesn't even make sense. It's a sort of a weird... Maybe you're just personifying the only thing in the room that looks like something, because a disembodied voices bother you. So you hear a loud, booming voice, and it asks, "Who won the battle of the First War?"
It's a history check.
Well, of course, you could do a history check, but the main thing being, with such a vague question, it'd be difficult to understand, for you to realize maybe what the last battle of the First War was, what it was called, or.
Whose first war, rather?
Exactly. You'd potentially have a difficult time sussing out all of the details. And, again, who won the last battle of the First War? Answer!
I don't know.
I think John would speak up and he'd go, "No one. No one won that terrible war. Not at least what the books say. War. Everybody loses in war. I've seen war. Nobody won. Maybe one side killed more of the other side. But nobody won. They both lost."
The booming voice again. "Ah, John! Wonderful to see you here. John Key, the cleric. That is not a cleric. The fighter, the washed-up old man. Sure, nobody wins in the war, but you'll answer my question or you'll get no further." And I need everybody to roll initiative.
$15, not bad.
All right, I'm going to write this down, and I'm going to do my best to call you by your characters' names, and it's not going to work, so just be ready for that yet again.
Nice.
So we have Crypt Breaker James. With
Damn it, am I going to go last again?
15. No, so far not last. John has got a 6, so he's going to be last.
Oh.
In fact, I didn't think anybody would beat Cassie, but Neith
Wow.
did.
So that
we have-
is your 20 for the evening. Good job.
Neith with a 21. We have Eden. I'm sorry, I'm so bad with fake names. Eden with a 19, but I would rather I like to use them. I prefer that. So we have Neith with a 21. We have Eden with a 19, Crypt Breaker with a 15, and John with a 6. And I actually have to roll. We'll see. This die. Oh, you're never gonna believe that I got a 1 on that roll. I have a dice tower here. We're gonna use that. I'm gonna use other dice. I refuse to roll poorly all night. So, despite that, basically coming from the top of this balcony, one of these creatures that you saw before. I don't remember if I told you guys the name of them, but believe we did.
Are they Gothics?
They were the Nothics, with an N, so basically Gothic with an N, yeah. So a feral, snarling Nothic comes flying out of the darkness above John, on top of you, and does its best to just claw your whole face off. And it does not do so trying to land on you, it basically it overshoots it and nearly splatters on the ground, coming from what seems so high, and
Can I
kind of
sort of
scurries.
bat it away, like, annoyingly? Like, there's this epic sort of living asking me questions and making fun of me, and this squirrely little one-eyed thing's jumping and it's just like,
Splat.
yeah, not today, Junior. I'm
Absolutely.
busy. Daddy's busy.
Yeah, and so you sort of you get a hand on it. It kind of falls away, and it begins it kind of runs, and it's going to do its best probably to scurry back up there, and with that, basically we go over to you, Neith, and you guys all rolled higher than them, so I guess you get basically a combat round, sort of without combat. So you can potentially use this time to try and answer the question.
The one time where I just didn't have time to recap by watching the last episode. I am just in shock and awe. I've seen things in the greatest forests. Magical creatures and strange things, but a disembodied voice, or at least a talking statue, is just not too much, but just my jaw is just on the ground, and I barely have time to react as this creature leaps into the air. But I still see it, and again in my head is my mentor's voice. Always be aware of your surroundings. Everything has a purpose. Everything has a story and a note. Pay attention. The leaf does not fall because the leaf wishes to fall. Something causes that leaf to fall. And just in my mind, the Nothic falling towards John just brings back that idea of a leaf. Instinctively, I grab an arrow and, like, stroking the fletching as I pull back, you see the bowstring becoming taut and becoming red hot, white hot as flame, and so hot that the arrowhead just begins to burst, and embers spark from it as I fire at the Nothic. And I will use my sharpshooter feat. And then that happened.
Oh.
Okay, so this Nothic jumps down, screams out of the darkness, jumps down onto John, or at least tries. John pushes it off, really with absolutely no effort expended. And this thing then, seeing all of you, having lost the element of surprise, does its best to scurry up the wall back into potentially its hiding place. And almost in a blink, if you were watching Neith, you see him pull back his arrow just as he said. It begins to glow white hot, and he fires at the Nothic. And almost without a sound, the arrow whispers through the air, and a screech leaves the Nothic's mouth as you pin it to the wall about halfway up. And the Nothic sort of slumps, being held up by your arrow, being immolated from inside where your arrow was burning.
So I'm just telling you, bother rolling for damage. Just it's all kinds of dead.
It's dead.
Okay, fair enough.
So with that, is there anything else you'd like to do?
I will start trying to remember the vision so much. So much.
Well, and I will say, so the important thing is, while you did have a short vision, there wasn't much information about it. You did see a vision of what seemed like, if I remember correctly, because I really need to recap, so this would potentially be retcon, let's go that way. I don't remember exactly what I said. We'll put it that way. I know the idea, of course, I have that written down, but if I say one detail different, I'm going to feel really stupid. The idea was you had the armies of humanoids and men and whatnot charging in battle against what seemed like brigades and brigades of blank men. These constructs, these different suits of armor fighting. And as far as any of you know in history, this isn't something that is widely publicized or that you know of. So basically, that said, I'm not trying to make you the character or you the player remember something to answer a question.
Nope, that's just perfect. Then I'm just gonna sit there and just try and remember, and as I guess, well, free action, I'm just gonna yell to James, "No, James, I don't know how I missed the deer. I know exactly that's exactly what you were gonna say. I know, but I don't know either. All right, sometimes in the forest the mighty stag stumbles. I've never seen it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't happen."
So with that, next in initiative order will be Eden. Eden, what would you like to do?
Before the Nothic tries to pounce on John, she's still holding the book out, having kind of tried to talk to one of the Nothics before entering the library. And she holds up the book like, "What, Blakeman, is this yours? Is there a Nothic or someone? This book is important. What is it?" And she's kind of holding it up, thinking that disembodied voice is coming from this statue, because all she sees are these skittering little creatures that can barely utter any human words. And she slowly puts the book down before the feet of this giant statue, still having the heart though in her pack. And upon seeing one of the Nothics now jump on John, she quickly moves back a little bit towards her group and takes out her halberd, but watches the statue intently.
And the voice comes from all around you again. "Ah, book! But what good is a book in a room full of books? There's no answers in there."
That's because there's something else in that book. It's not just a book.
And with that, Cryptbreaker, it's up to you to answer the statue's question.
Okay. Cryptbreaker knows he is not a man of combat and kind of takes a step back, still holding the torch while all this is going on. And for any of you who saw the more recent Sherlock Holmes movies, where he kind of goes into Sherlock mode, and the world stops around him and the camera slowly pans. So Cryptbreaker is staying there holding a torch. He's like, high ceiling chandelier, polished floor, heads, unlikely, too many books, too many burners, no fire traps, unlikely, declarative statement voice, artificial intelligence, otherworldly, outside the room, just compiling all these facts, looking around all at the same time, just seems frozen in time and thusly fairly useless right now, just trying to puzzle things out. And instead, we'll make a wide, like, sort of quarter circle around the statue to, I guess, check for glowing runes, any lines, anything that said that this might be powered by magic, or perhaps have a denizen who is elsewhere speaking through it. Any information he can glean just by looking.
Yeah, absolutely. And so basically, at the far side, if the room is a rectangle and there are rows and rows of books, at the far side is the statue, almost against the wall. Not entirely, but basically you wouldn't be able to fit behind it. And upon inspecting the statue, it seems just like a bunch of metal that somebody stuck together. It is connected in places, but like I said, there are holes. You could reach your hand right through it. But it doesn't seem like if the voice is coming from somewhere, it's coming directly from the statue. There are no traces of magic, aside from sort of just a general feeling of magic in the whole room. It's very much. This seems like a magically charged, very different library than any place you've been.
Okay. Having had the sudden stark thought in his Sherlock mode, James wonders why this statue speaks in common and not in undercommon, and quickly glances over at the books accusingly, wondering if they too will be in common, and perhaps the answer may be found there.
Absolutely. So, would Crypt Breaker like to take a book off the shelf, or?
Yeah, sure.
So what I need you to do is I would like for you to do an investigation check for me.
Okay, investigation. 17.
Awesome. Okay, so basically you run over. You're looking at the statue. You run over and you're looking through these different books, and none of them are necessarily labeled, but you pull them out and you flip through, and you pull them out and you flip through, and you're looking, and then you realize that these are very widely varied books, but then you find a volume that talks about war, and you're flipping through and you start to read about court, the king court, and basically in your reading you find that court was the king after Stratus, but before no one. And with that, it is John's turn. So basically, to give you guys an idea, you have to find out who won the last battle of the First War, and by looking through these books, you have to find out basically who the first king was based on the books. So out of game, this is a riddle, and you're going to be able to, on your turn as a bonus action, if you're near a bookcase, make an investigation check, and upon passing the DC, you will be able to glean one piece of information to piece this together, while potentially being assaulted by enemies. So, like I said, with that, your piece of information, Crypt Breaker, was that Court was the king after Stratus and before no one.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we go over, like I said, to John's turn.
So John would see sort of this. I imagine Cryptbreaker James's eyes would sort of furrow, and he would kind of just be looking around. And while John doesn't necessarily relate with this exactly, he's been around enough tacticians and he's been around enough advisors to know what it looks like when someone is coming up with a plan. And so I think that John, seeing Cryptbreaker James go over to the bookshelf, pull a book, would sort of get the gist, like, oh, okay. And then he would say, nah, I don't do books. And he would pull both of his swords out. And so I think that then John would use his, to speak in 3.5 E's, John would use his 6 words to basically, he would say, I'm not going to do 6 words, but he would say to this construct, he'd say, will you give me a clue?
And you hear again the booming voice, and it laughs. The clues are all around you. Don't do books. That's John Key for you. Old man. Let's see. And with that, you hear the screeching of another Nothic. And then, almost in unison, another. And 5 Nothics jump down onto the floor where you are. And now we get to really begin.
And I think that as that happens, John would say, now this I do.
So, like I said, basically as far as the bonus action, we're kind of playing with the rules a little bit here in order to streamline this and not make your life super difficult while still potentially having a good time. I haven't done anything like this before, so that's why I'm being very straight up with you that we're going to see if this works. The idea being that, like I said, a bonus action gets you an investigation check in a book, but you do still have to make the check. And as Neath showed, these Nothics are not very strong. So while they may quickly gang up on you if you don't deal with them, they seem to go down fairly easily. So remembering all of those things, I am going to, each one of these Nothics is going to take a swipe at each of you. I don't actually even have enough d20s for that, but so the first one jumps down near where Eden is, and with a scream jumps at her and swipes with its claws. And I don't believe a 13 hits you.
Nope.
And then the same, Neath. Again, all of this seemingly happening at once. They come out of nowhere as you hear the laughing of this disembodied voice sort of echoing around you. And that is a 19, Neath. I believe that does hit you.
That it does.
John, one of them comes at you, and a 13 I also don't think hits you.
Mm-mm.
And Cryptbreaker, one comes from sort of around a bookcase to try and jump on you. And I tried to throw my die. Oh my god, we're not keeping that, but it bounced out of my. I tried to roll. It bounced out of my dice tower, and I got a 20. But if it were a lower roll, I wouldn't have kept it either. So I feel only fair. So a 16. I'm not sure. Oh, okay, perfect. We're getting okay. So that does hit you. Thank you for the armor classes. So basically, we have hits on both Neath, or sorry, I forgot already. It was Neath and Cryptbreaker. Does that sound right? Okay. So, Neath, you are going to take 1 point of damage, you lucky dog. And Cryptbreaker, unlucky dog, you take 6.
Luckily, I have Uncanny Dodge, which halves the damage against attackers I can see.
Perfect, and you absolutely do see this. They make no attempts to hide themselves. So in that case, you'll take 3 damage there. So, with that, it is back to your turn, Neath. There are currently 5 Nothics in the room with you. And you have 1 piece of information. Court was king after Stratus and before no one. What would you like to do?
Seeing that Cryptbreaker James was already trying to get everything sorted out, and knowing that my skill set does not require the use of words on a page, I grab my bow tightly in my hand. I stare at these 5 large-eyed creatures, and realizing that James was already hurt, I'm going to attack the one that attacked me, and my second attack, I'm going to spin around and attack the one that hit James.
Awesome. Give me some attacks here.
That's hilarious. Okay. No, because I actually rolled both extremes.
Oh, perfect.
If you shoot me in the ass, I'm going to be very upset.
No. I got no. Don't worry. I got this. I got this. So the first one, just like the one basically that attacked Cryptbreakers. My first thought is I got to protect the person that's going to save our asses through this, and I just quickly kind of bring up my bow, grab an arrow, loose it off again, another with fire, and seeing it basically go straight in the eye, just straight through the eye, and its eye just bubbles with the heat and just pops in this disgusting kind of goopy mess. And seeing that he was okay, I reach over to grab another arrow, but as I grab the arrow, I grab it a little bit too hard, and I kind of flick, and I'm trying to catch it in my hand, but it just kind of does that whole and it just flips straight over. Yeah.
Like a bad infomercial.
Yeah, it flips right over, lands, hits the ground, and for some reason I was trying to grab it, and it was going to be a lightning, or at least a lightning arrow, and it hits the ground, seemingly at this spot where, although this library is beautifully pristine, there was this one tiny crack where one tiny droplet of water was landing on the ground over the years. And as I stepped into that puddle and the lightning arrow hits the puddle, I'm going to go ahead and take 4 points of lightning damage as I realize I shocked myself. And that's about as great as a one's going to get.
Absolutely.
Other than me shooting myself in the eyeball or something.
No, that is awesome. So I'm really bad at giving these out, so I'm trying to get better. So please take a point of inspiration for that, both for the really great narration, but also for taking damage on a critical miss yourself. So with that, you can still move, and if you feel that it's in character or you guys all start to die, you can make a bonus action to try to look through one of the books. I did make it a bonus action. Oh, I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
See what I mean? This is what I hardwire mute, and then I forget to unhardwire mute. Stupid, amazing blue microphone. So the only move I would probably make is being shocked. I actually kind of shoot back and kind of fly a bit and kind of land on my backside. Kind of looking up and kind of looking and making sure that no one else actually saw that incredibly embarrassing thing, but realizing that they probably saw it.
And you hear you've heard screeching and different sort of snarls and weird high-pitched growls from these Nothic, but you hear a chittering that you can only surmise is a laugh as these Nothic are. They all see you slip and bust your ranger butt. So with that, it is over to you, Eden.
Eden, staring down this one Nothic in front of her. She's already had her halberd out, and she's just gonna try and cut this thing in half. She don't care. Okay. What is it? Right. Actually.
Perfect.
Okay. So, seeing this Nothic jump down in front of her, she already has her halberd out after having heard the giant booming voice, just disregard her book, and of course John being attacked by one of them. She just lunges forward, and with a huge swing, she watches as the blade just pretty much cuts almost right midline of its eye, just flacking off the top of its head. And with a little smirk of satisfaction, she watches for a moment as the body just kind of writhes and then crumples before she turns to look at Neath. And while she laughs for a moment at his tumble, she too moves towards Cryptbreaker James to kind of be on the defense. And keeping an eye on the rest of them, she also reaches for a random book.
Absolutely. Well, go ahead and make an investigation check to sort of look through some of the books to see if you can find something.
She tries to take a book out, and it just drops. She's she's got some butterfingers right now. I don't know.
Yeah, so looking through the books, you try to pull one out, and just like you said, you pull it out, and it falls to the floor, and suddenly you're beset again with a Nothic, so you're not able to quite look through it.
Nope. I was at 1.
Yeah, no good. So with that, it goes over to you, Cryptbreaker. There are currently 3 Nothics milling around, running around in the room, crawling over stuff, and of course trying to sort of attack all of you. So what would you like to do?
Okay. I know I have enough defense at my back, and my comrades are counting on me to do my thing. So we zoom back in and go into Matrix time for Sherlock mode, and a family tree appears above my head with Stratus, and then wife and children, aunts, uncles, all of which are blank question marks, of course, which has a little gold king's crown over his name. and then it shoots down into the first son, Court, who also has a little cartoon king's crown over his head, wife, children, aunts, uncles, all of which are question marks. And I'm like, and I'm kind of like half-heartedly waving my torch and not really looking at the battle, just like, yeah, if they get close, yeah, fire. Just like older, looking for older books, maybe something with more dust on it, an older edition, a first edition, a collector's edition of whatever war book I'm reading, something that would reach further back in time.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and give me an investigation check.
Investigation. 24.
Okay, so you definitely do make it, and just like you said, you can tell some of these books are all ancient. You can tell they're all very old based on the way they look. They're well maintained, but just the style of binding, and there are different clues to let you know that some of these are more worn than others. What do you call it? What the pages are made of. Some are thin, and some are very. You can tell. You can tell that they have age, but that they have been taken care of for quite some time. And looking through, you find more information on another king, reaching a little further back, and you begin to read of sort of the conquests of the King Granville, and you read and you go further, and what you find is that after Granville came Wardofskin. So the next clue is Granville ruled before Wardofskin.
Wardofskin. All right. Do I have any actions left for anything else, or am I done?
If you would like to move to another section, you can one more time make an investigation check to try and see if you find anything else. Doing 2 in 1 turn is going to make it a little more difficult, but if you roll another 24, I don't think that'll be a problem.
Okay,
basically, you will have to sort of move from the safety of your comrades for now.
Yeah, I'll sidle along the bookshelf. Somebody already shot the one that was close enough to me, and I trust my comrades to watch my back, given all the insanity that we have seen so far since we went underground. Mm-hmm. That if this is going to be a book thing, a riddle thing, this is my job. Got to do my thing. older, leather binding, thicker pages, gold leaflet, something. Maybe when you bend the pages, it makes a weird picture.
Yeah,
like that. Different details. Older, more dust, more decrepit looking, something. 24.
Wow. All right. So yeah, no, you as joking as I was before. Despite joking before, I was telling the truth that if you roll a 24 again, you're going to make it. And so, again, it's the same kind of thing. Suddenly, you realize what you're looking for. You're looking. A lot of it is accounts. You see letters from different people here and there. These are sort of compilations. I mean, these are almost literally history books. They're not so much stories. The ones you're pulling out. Every time you pull, you'll see. Maybe a folk tale, and you'll see something full of maybe recipes. There's a cookbook in here, and a lot of different books. There doesn't seem to be any real direction or rather way that they are organized. Yeah, it seems like potentially somebody that would come here would know where they are, or maybe there's some other way to find. But you're rifling through a lot of different books that are very unhelpful, but you come across another one of these. You come across another one of these sort of history-looking books, this style, and in it you find that Yerkton was older than Court and ruled directly after Stratus.
Yerkton was what now?
Was older than Court and ruled directly after Stratus. With that, if you're finished, Tony, it will be on to John's turn.
Yes.
Awesome. So, John, how about you? There are currently 3 Nothics still standing.
So yeah, I would probably. I think that they would probably be my main focus. Like I think that with Cryptbreaker James working on this. John is definitely not a learned man in that way. He's not a researcher. It's not just that he doesn't like it, it's that he's not good at it. He's just like, he's all, thumbs and dangling participles. But he can kill. And so I think what he would do is he would swing and try to take the closest Nothic to him and just drop it.
Absolutely. So, yeah, like I said, there are 3 still in the room, and you're all seemingly in pretty close to the same place, and they're running around and trying to sort of get at each of you, trying to find maybe, they're very agile little creatures. They're potentially about waist high. But the idea is they're constantly running around, and you can certainly take a swipe at one. So, roll an attack, sorry. That's the next step.
Yeah, sure. So, 23.
Yeah, so you hit the Nothic, so go ahead and tell me what that looks like.
So I would imagine it's quick sort of a proctoring sort of fighting right now. If there's 3 of them, and I know that there are more coming from the ceiling, it's very economic as far as movement. It's not like we're on the battlefield. One strike needs to lead to the next, or you're going to get stabbed from behind, kind of thing. So, I think it would just kind of be like a blade twirl, and just trying to slice the thing in places that would cripple it or kill it. So, legs mostly, just like fell it so that it's not a threat. And I would do 9 damage.
Awesome. So, basically, because we're doing sort of a horde fighting style, if you hit the AC, you kill the creature. So the idea is if you hit the armor class of
gotcha.
14,
Period. Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
it's like you kill it, and it's just, you like you said, you're lopping through. It's just a matter of hitting it more than anything. So you can just sort of narrate the deaths as we go.
So this is all right. I see. So this is Strider cutting down goblins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is that shing, and it's just like
Exactly.
those more like slices and stab. Just this very, like I said, economic. One stroke leads to another. Now I do get a second attack, and I have 2 weapon fighting. So what I'm going to do is basically from there, I'm going to take my second attack and try to do that, and then I'm going to try to use my 2 weapon fighting, so I get to attack 3 times in a round.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to 18. Does an 18 hit? You said a 14 AC?
Yeah, 14 AC.
Okay. Awesome, and a natural 19. So the first one, it's legs, so it drops, and basically I butt the top of its head with the pommel of my sword just to make sure it's dead and unconscious, and then come across, just slicing through the eye of one of them, and it just pours open, and it's this purple-green pus just oozing out, and it sort of splatters, and in that slice with the other sword, it's just this, like I said, very economical, just stab straight through the other eye. And then John's just standing there at the ready.
Awesome. All right, and with that, we are back down to 0 Nothic in the room, but it is their turn. And with that, again, more screeching. And one at a time, 6 more Nothic jump down. And they are going to attack each of you, and I'm going to write it down this time so that I am able to. So first, we're gonna make a little grid here so that I can remember. Okay, so Eden does get hit. You
Okay.
gave me all your. I think John. Oh no, everybody gave me their armor class. Perfect. Let me write that down. So Eden.
16.
Yeah, I have them here. I just want to have them in front of me so I can do this in a way that is at least relatively quick. Perfect. Okay, so Eden does take a hit this round. Neath does not. My die got stuck. There we go. Crypt Breaker. Okay, listen. Somebody's sabotaging my dice. This is ridiculous. Crypt Breaker doesn't get hit even with an armor class of 13. But John does take a critical hit.
Oh.
That was a 20 that actually made it out of the dice tower, and we're going to go ahead and attribute that to them being very upset with you.
Absolutely.
These creatures seemingly have some measure of intellect, but it's almost as though it's just right behind a sort of primal, feral style, where they're smart enough to jump out of the way of certain attacks and run around and try and flank you, but not necessarily smart enough to speak to you, maybe, or something like that.
Gotcha. I also love the fact that, I don't know, I love the fact that even in war, someone very storied and skilled can still get hit and wounded. Like, it's going to happen no matter how. I'm rusty. I'm old. That construct isn't wrong. This isn't John in his prime. I'm not in my early 20s hacking down people with a grin and moving on to the next one. I'm like, I'm breathing heavy over here.
Yeah. So you take 7 points of damage, and there are 6 total, and I forgot that, and I'm really good at softballing you guys, even though I tell myself every time I'm not gonna. So, the other 3 are going to attack. So Eden does get hit that time. Oh, again. Oh, Eden, I didn't roll your damage, did I?
No, you didn't.
Okay, so you take 6 points of damage because my d6 is rolling high, and you're going to take another one, but we'll roll that in a second.
Okay.
Neath. And Neath does not take a hit from this next one, and then this next one is going to go for Crypt Breaker, but also misses. So dice are not doing well. But Eden takes 1 more hit, and that is 5 more damage for Eden.
Jeez. Okay. All right.
So, with all that, we go back over to Neath. First in initiative order, there are 6 Nothic, and you currently have 2 clues, I believe. No, 3 clues, because you rolled twice. Yeah, okay. If you're talking, you might... Okay, go ahead, sorry. I wasn't looking at the window, so I was afraid you were muted.
No, sir. I said good day, sir. So, are the Nothic, are they kind of close together? Like, are they like kind of like in a small, tight bunch pack mentality or are they like spaced fairly far apart?
Because you guys are kind of close, they are constantly running around, but at any one point, usually at least 3 of them will be pretty close to each other. They're not necessarily falling all over each other, but yeah, they're sort of think of how dogs or like a pack of maybe feral, I don't know, wolverines. I don't know anything that does this, but just pretend wolverines hunt in packs. Are kind of circling. So yeah, they're close to each other every once in a while.
All right. I'm gonna wait for them to come together, and I look around, and I'm sure Crypt Breaker is probably too focused on what he's doing. But if he were to look, I kind of mouth, and I'm sorry to him. And I pull out an arrow, and I kind of concentrate, and I slowly kind of like breathe in, but I breathe in such a way that almost like a few books begin to kind of fall on the ground, and they open, and the pages begin to rustle. And as I stare looking at these dead down at these 3 creatures, I just pull back on my bow. And as I let go, I'm casting Hail of Thorns at the one in the center. And as the arrow is beginning to travel in its path, it's almost as if like a vacuum is pulling pages out. And as the pages are pulling and circling around this arrow as it's streaking towards it, the pages are beginning to harden. Like the vellum is beginning to harden into like streaks of like hardened paper, almost into like blades. And the first arrow will hit, and then these pages, these thorns, just go shooting past the other 2, smashing into them. And first we got to make sure that one arrow hits.
Yeah.
which it does, is +7, so that thing's dead. And the other two need to make a dexterity saving throw of 13, and or else they will take 1d10 damage.
Awesome. So basically, one of them makes it, but one of them does not. So one of them dies, one of them doesn't.
Okay.
So you took out, in that case, 2 of them, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Oh, how many are there still? 4?
Yeah.
Or
Now,
6?
yeah, exactly. Of the 6, he took out 2 of them. So, Neith, is there anything else that you wanted to do?
Okay, so here's a quick question for you. So I did cast a spell, but if I can make 2 attacks as a ranger, do I still get 1 more attack?
You do not.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think you do. In fact, I think a commenter on YouTube mentioned that. I didn't realize at the time, but yeah, so I don't think so.
Well, I think they were mentioning.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, I figured they were mentioning about me casting Hunter's Mark, though, which is a bonus. I know that's a bonus.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Action spell.
Totally different, yeah. If I'm
I
not
didn't
mistaken,
actually
it's
know.
1 spell attack, which is not an official game term, but it's 1 spell or your melee attacks.
Yeah, because I think it depends,
Okay.
like you said, it depends on the action. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, in that case, yeah, you only get the 1 if you cast a spell. But you would still be able to move, which I guess isn't really worth that much to you guys. But if you are all finished with your turn, it'll be up to Eden.
Okay. So, Eden seeing, I think there's 3 focused on John, kind of.
Well, basically, there's
Or was it-
4 left, and they're sort of circling, and they're doing their best to hit you guys where they can. They're scrambling around, running around, and
I thought, okay, never mind. I thought they were focused on him because you said that they were particularly angry with him. Okay.
oh yeah, just at that time, I decided that a few happened to attack him before they attacked someone else.
Okay.
So they don't necessarily focus on anybody, whereas usually when we're playing, it's like, oh, this one is attacking so-and-so, or that one is... It's like they're all like running around and kind of taking pot shots and swiping, and they're very guerrilla tactic-y.
Got it. So Eden, upon getting... She watches as the Gothic comes towards her, and it's almost like slow motion. She just finished her 1 big swing, and she just manages to almost kind of do the Matrix as this one Gothic jumps for her and basically bashes into her shoulder, and giving her a few hit points there. And she lets a little grunt as the metal is dented from the hit, kind of shoving into her shoulder. And she's certainly not ready for the other one as it comes for her from the side and tries to just take a bite out of her side. But thankfully, her breastplate is there to keep her from really, getting a chunk take out of her. So, with a look of anger on her face, immediately she turns her halberd instead on that one who just bit her, or tried to bite her on the side. And with another vicious swing, the blade wouldn't hit it. Let's see. If she hits it, and if I don't throw my dice everywhere. So she swings at it, and it's still relatively close to her. Like, her blade wouldn't hit it. Maybe the handle or the pole. And so as she swings, she spits at it in disgust as instead it ducks under her handle, and she takes a few steps back to try and distance herself and be prepared for another attack. And she does have an extra attack ability. So having put the distance between herself and that one where she missed. Okay. She tries to lunge again with her halberd, and this Nothic just easily jumps backward, chattering her, like laughing at her lousy attempts to try and hit it. Yeah. And that's it for me.
Yeah, so with that, Crypt Breaker, we come to you, and you, as Eden misses, twice, she's swinging around, and these things are, kind of reading everyone, and they're you guys have attacked a few, you've killed a few. They're watching again. Like I said, they're semi-intelligent, or at least they seem it, because it's almost as though they're reading you. You swing and they can read the arc. They see the weight of the weapon you're holding and they jump back, and they're kind of taunting. And you can see that tactically they seem to be gaining an advantage, just because they're seeing you fight. And you hear this booming voice almost playfully tell you, "You better hurry." And with that, it is up to you, Cryptbreaker.
Okay, Cryptbreaker will pull his inkwell while he's standing next to a shelf, and just like a rowdy person in a tavern, bashes the top of the glass bottle on one of the shelves and just like wide arc throws it at our exceptionally large eyeballed friends to see if he can't blind the two that are pressuring Eden.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's certainly worth a try. I would say in that case, most let's see. I think hand axes are strength weapons still, or are they dexterity because you're throwing them?
I don't know.
Basically, what you're going to do is, because you're aiming this thing, I want you to more or less make a dexterity attack with it.
All right.
Really a dexterity check, without the proficiency bonus, because I don't imagine you're proficient attacking with ink.
All right.
So, yeah, basically give me a dex check.
Okay. 17.
Awesome. So, yeah, I would say that absolutely you're able to do what you'd like. Like you said, you're sort of blinding them, and I will give 2 of the 4 that are still standing disadvantage on their next attacks.
Cool.
Potentially against Eden, any that attack Eden. We'll keep that in mind as well.
Okay, and then I guess for my second action, I will shout that Granville is the only one listed as a conqueror. Was it he who won the first war?
And based on this, the statue, or rather the disembodied voice, doesn't answer at first, but the chattering and the screeching of the Nothics almost seems to die down. They're still running around, but they seem quieter. And you hear the voice. Well, yes, Granville was, in fact, but... Well, I think you're just guessing. And 4 more Nothic jump down.
It's not a guess, it's an educated... I look at Eden for the word. Educated hypothesis.
Eden just like shrugs her shoulders at him, like, I don't know what you want me to say.
I'm thinking it would be really funny if he said it's an educated, and he looked around and John goes, hypothesis.
Yeah,
He goes, listen, I don't read so well, but I'm not an idiot.
And it's like I snap my fingers and point at him. Hypothesis!
And the disembodied voice, actually with a little bit of surprise in the voice, says, well, I must say, you are correct. But I've got something to confess to you. I don't perfectly have control over these Nothics, so I'll open the doors, but it's up to you to get away from them. And the 2 large sort of bookcases against the wall on either side of where this statue is kind of break or not break, but like begin to shake and slide as calmly as the door did when you first entered. And with that, it is John's turn.
Run before they overwhelm us.
So that's what John would say. He'd say, all right, time to pull my weight. Say, Neath, if you got a shot, take it. And I would sort of, as they were running through the doors, do the classic tropey, awesome, like swing both swords with my hands, like,
Oh, yeah.
and just be like ready. So I will hack down using, both the 2-weapon fighting as well as my 2 attacks, just like doing the. If this is like, this is end of Fellowship of the Ring. The Uruk-hai are flooding over the hill, and it's just like, except like diet, because they're just nothing.
So yeah, go ahead and currently there are 8 Nothic, 2 that are blinded, or at least are going to have a little more difficult time seeing. You get the sense that they have other senses living in the dark, but obviously one big eye is going to be one of their main ways of seeing. So give me your 3 attack rolls, and we'll see how many you can fell.
All right, are the blinded ones, are their eyes all puffy, like they have one big pink eye? Well, would I be able to tell, is what I'm saying, of the ones that are blinded? Because I would like to beseech you to give me advantage on them. Because I think blinded gives me advantage on them.
Yeah, absolutely. You would be able to see them. Seeing that there are 8, what I will actually have you do is roll a d8 for me.
Okay.
2 times. I am thinking of 2 numbers. And basically, because they're all milling around and running, given the chance, basically on a 4 and a 7, you'll be able to hit the 2 blinded ones.
Oh, I got a 3 and a 4. So
perfect. So basically, you're able to hit with advantage, hit one of the blinded ones.
All right, perfect. So then we'll go. See the blind one, 11, 12, 13. Hang on, my wife's handing me the baby monitor. She's going to the store. All right.
Bye. We love you.
They said they love you too.
Love you guys.
I don't know if you heard her. She popped in and said, "Love you guys." All right. So the first attack hits because it's over 14.
Yeah.
Second attack does not. The third attack does. So if it was that style, I think that the one I would miss would be the one that's blinded. I just couldn't hit him. Like, I see the 2 blinded, but like you said, they're weaving in and out, and so I sort of made a tactical mistake. Instead of just killing them outright, I'm like, oh, let me go for the blinded ones first. Then killed one, killed the other, and then whiffed on the blinded one. And then I'm still going to hold the line while they sort of run to get a head start.
Perfect. So in that case, it is actually again the monster's turn. So we're down 2 Nothic. That leaves 6. 2 are still blinded. And we're going to go round robin, and they're going to try to attack you. Let me change that number, sorry. So we're going to go around in the order that I wrote you guys. We're going to go Eden. Does not get hit. Neath does not get hit. Crypt Breaker does not. I'm throwing this dice away, guys. I'm throwing it in the trash can. Okay, all of them. I just need new dice. Oh, or I'm just literally. So I rolled 3 4s, a 5, and a 6.
Wow.
Yeah, right. Like even the party, even the people that I am trying to kill feel bad for me. So
Wait a second. I think I know. I think I know what's going on. You're
Tell me.
rolling a d6. Roll the 20.
Yeah, that's the problem. All right, so I rolled the good one, my Gaharl dice, my 20 that I hit on Tim earlier, and I got a 19. And so John is going to take another hit, and we've got one more Nothic that's going to go for Crypt Breaker with the good die, and he gets hit
Your
as well.
mother, Carney, your mother.
So John will take 4 damage. No, the d6 I rolled great on, of the amounts. And Crypt Breaker will take 2.
Rounded down by half.
Rounded down by half, so 1, because you can see that guy. All right, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and attribute those 5s and 6s to them all being blind, I guess. I don't know.
Plus, they're a little afraid of me. A little. I just enjoy my friends.
He's got a pile of them up to his knees.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point it should be, difficult terrain with all the guts and eyeball juice sliding around. There's not actually. But, so with that, you see almost an uncountable amount more Nothic jump down and begin to run at you. The important thing being that on either side of the statue are 2 different doors and 2 different hallways. So there's one on the left and one on the right. And it is Neith's turn. What would you like to do?
I will shout at the rest of the party, just go! Go! Pick one, and I'll follow! And I'll make 2 regular old attacks against 2 of the Nothics, just snap firing at this point, since they're pretty much a horde. I'm just like trying to like thin them out a little bit so we can run. And 1 hits, so I get 1. But as I'm trying to shoot the one right behind it, the first one takes its time kind of falling backward, and the arrow just slams into its corpse again and just falls twice. Like, well, killed him twice. Very nice. And I will start kind of continuously backing up pretty quickly, getting ready to whichever way they're going. I'm just going to book it and follow.
Yeah, sounds good. So basically, you guys, whether even out of character, you can decide whether you're going left or right. But I imagine you're all sort of moving the same way. But we should get that out of the way now, so that nobody goes down the wrong hall and dies a sad death. So, which way are you guys going?
Left. Eden would go left.
Sounds good.
I like it. Let's go the sinister route.
Yeah, exactly.
So barring anybody having any other ideas in the heat of the moment, we'll see you go down the left hall. So go ahead.
I gotta get something. I forgot something in the room.
You did. I'm actually
bounty.
very happy that you remembered. Yeah. So it is your turn, Eden. What would you like to do?
Upon seeing the 2 Nothic in front of her being blinded, and one of them, taken out wonderfully by John, she takes a moment while she pauses, listening to the voice, and then she looks at the statue, and she's just like, crap. She quickly puts her halberd away and takes out her sword and shield, and just using the fact she's a big woman, like she's tall for a woman, anyways, of the Varnholm blood, and she just, and as the Nothic are starting to come down, she runs for the statue, trying to get this empty book. And in the process, just using her shield to smack one of the Nothic that are jumping down, and then try and bolt back towards the group. Her sword just out, trying to at least threaten them to kind of give her a little space. Because they're not dumb. Like, if there's a sword swinging at them, as she learned with the halberd, they're not going to totally just, hopefully, run right into it.
Yeah. So basically, from as soon as Eden realizes that the book is still there, I mean, you're probably 10 feet away, and by your estimation, the Nothic, this wave of creatures, is also about the same. And so it's now at this point that it's up to you more than anything to see if you can outrun this wave of Nothic by running and grab the book.
And then, as she reaches the book,
well, that's the important thing. We're going to see if you reach the book first.
Okay.
There's a chance that maybe you could slip or fall or be overrun by Nothic. And so basically, decide, you can consider what you're going to do, but what I need you to do is basically, I want you to make a dexterity check.
Okay.
You are running as quickly as you can without falling in what I think is full plate armor with a sword and shield out to grab a book on the floor.
It's just a breastplate.
Well, yeah, but faster than some monsters. Basically, you're in full armor with weapons and stuff, and these very agile Nothic are potentially running faster than you, so roll a d20 and add your dexterity to it.
Would I be able to cast a spell?
It is your turn, so you could potentially cast a spell, absolutely.
Alright, let's see how I do first. Okay. So, where is it? Dexterity.
Yeah, just basically add your bonus to that.
So that's only a 13. So, she's like, the Nothic and her are basically the same damn distance to this book, and knowing that if she even touches it, they're going to pretty much just mob her. So, in a desperate attempt, not knowing how important this book is, I'm going to cast Thunderous Smite.
Okay.
hold on. So I know that if they fail, I'm almost there. Okay. Yes. So basically, she'll have her sword out, and she's going to just strike at the closest one to her the moment she reaches the book to deal 2d6 thunder damage, creating this obnoxious, loud thundering noise that'll just echo through the whole room. And if the creatures do not succeed on a strength saving throw, hold on. Yeah, if they don't succeed on the strength saving throw, then they won't be pushed back. Otherwise, they will be pushed back 10 feet and knocked prone.
Awesome. So is that an attack roll on one of them in that case?
It's attack roll.
You said you were hitting one. I don't know exactly how it works. Basically, you cast it and they all have to make a strength check, or you have to attack one, or how does it work?
I think she's going to try and attack one to basically set it off.
Yeah, okay.
In hopes that, let's see, additionally the target, blah, 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 to, even if it's knocking just one of them away, hopefully the sound might do something, because if they live in the underground, hearing is very sensitive. Either way, it might startle some of them, anything. That's the only
absolutely.
thing she got.
Yeah, so go ahead and give me your attack roll with your sword.
I roll again.
Well, I'm pretty sure you have at least one inspiration.
Yeah, that's a 5.
So, yes, you can roll. Good luck. I think you need to stop using my dice.
Alright. Finally, I got a 17.
Okay, so yes, that does hit. And basically, exactly what you described happens. I mean, these Nothic, in fact, probably make it to this book a little faster than you. And so, Eden runs in and she sort of bashes one with her sword, or rather with her shield, and her sword begins to glow electric, lightning, whatever, blue and white, and she strikes down at one, and it's kind of like when Sauron enters the fight, and you see the wide shot, and all the guys fly away, in the wide arc of his enormous mace. It's kind of like that. You hit one, and this thing just explodes, just juice everywhere, and a shockwave kind of knocks them all over, and gives you just the chance you need to kind of grab this book and begin running with the rest of your party.
Yay! Okay, that ends my turn.
And with that, it is you, John.
I would see all this with Eden, and I would kind of see her going back and trying to make all this happen. And I think as I was about to run in there, I would sort of see that she has it handled. I would turn around and be like, "Ah, damn it," and just kind of run back, and then you see and I think my old graying hair probably just oh, and then I go back to slaying Nox, trying to clear a path for her, and the rest of us is just shoring up our escape, so to speak. So, can I take a couple more hacks at these things?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me, your 3 attacks here.
All right. So, hit, miss, hit. So again, it's just this. I think it's a fury of blades, a blade storm, as Chris Ricker James might say. And it's just at this point, I think I've devolved into I'm tired, and it's I don't have the stamina that I once did, and so just like a weary boxer who loses form, I think what I'm doing is sort of just those last 10 reps at the gym, and you hope nobody's watching. So I'm doing that thing where I'm just and what I'm also going to do is, in addition to that, as this sort of starts happening, I think I sort of tweak my shoulder a little bit, and I look down at this foreign-looking sort of plate, this piece of metal that's under my skin with these chunks sort of growing out of it that has become a part of my body, and I remember just the smell of blood and the feel of battle, and my heart rate has gotten to that perfect place. And I am going to use my fighter's action surge, and I'm going to make one more attack.
Awesome.
And I just hit. So, thank God for that. So just, one final, just stick one right in the eye as its claw just gets, right close to my face. Just and let it slide off the blade.
In fact, I imagine, they're sort of rushing you guys at this point, and you're kind of wading into the fray here, and you stab, and you skewer probably 3 of them. They're just bunching up, and they're just throwing themselves at you, and after all that feeling, and you push this sword, you lunge so, strongly, so with so much force that you just get a few of them, through their heads, and one jumped up, and it's just you skewer a few, and with that, I would say that you guys make it far enough, and you kind of run through the door. You get through this door behind the bookcase, and similar to the rest of this sort of dungeon, this area you've been in, it's almost luminescent enough. Cryptbreaker, I believe, still does have a torch, but it's relatively well lit. And as you make it through, this bookcase starts slowly closing, and a couple odd Nothic start rushing in, but it's a wash. Rushing over each other, running over each other. You guys take them out. With your sword, Eden, and your just flinging arrows at them, Neath, and John just chopping them to bits. Cryptbreaker probably setting them on fire, and as the bookcase door sort of slowly closes, it smashes a few Nothic in it, between where it shuts, and it some bits ooze out. And with that, we are going to take a short, maybe 5 or 6 minute break before the rest of the session.
Okay.
So, we'll be back in about 5 or 6 minutes, guys.
And now a very special word from our sponsor. We'd like to thank AbsoluteTabletop.com for all of their support over the years. You can head over to AbsoluteTabletop.com right now and get your digital supplements. Wonder where the adventurers are this evening? Well, you might find out if you pick up Deep Vault, Machinations of the Ancients. You can get your copy now at AbsoluteTabletop.com. Thanks so much for listening. Now back to the show.
tease the first one back again. It's RoboCop versus the Terminator. Begin. Freeze, I suggest you use your right to remain silent before I show your GoBot has some Detroit violence. I'm like an X-Wing commander 'cause I stay on target. I take over these streets like I'm a farmer's market. I wonder where the Cyberdyne research went 'cause they couldn't fix your, what is it, your funky Hans and Franz accent. They sent you back to kill a child, but he's defeating you still. They should have made a time-traveling morning after pill. And I didn't think I had any feeling left inside me, but my heart was surely broken after Terminator 3. I'm RoboCop and I got the flow to beat roided out C-3PO. I got the mic control like Alt-Delete. Your move, creep. Wrong. I have detailed files on the conclusion of your trilogy. That movie failed Detroit worse than the automotive industry. I am T-800 Cyberdyne Systems Model 101, and I'll be sweeping up your robobits like paper clips when I'm done.
Hello.
Hi, Cassie.
Ooh. Hi. Yay! How do you like that thunderclap? Oh wait, we're live, but whatever.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm. I like this one.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully James will be back soon.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
Oh, hey, there he is.
Here I am.
You missed the song.
Oh, yeah? It's funny because I didn't go back and listen to it, but somebody said in one of the last, in the comments, one of the last videos, they said they said, man, T really broke it down during the, what is it, during the break.
Listen, can I tell you my favorite comment so far on any of the Ironheart of Innis videos?
Yeah.
Which one?
2 words. Someone typed in all caps, John Cena.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh man, if I was worth my salt and wasn't afraid to crash my internet, I would go to the video, find the person, and give them a shout out.
It's funny, I was trying to do that, but the app on my phone updated, and the stupid thing it signed me out, so I'm like,
Oh, shucks.
But I actually am logged in. Let's see, I'm sure there's an easy way. We're going to do some shout-outs here real quick.
Let's do it.
Oh, comments. There we go. That's the one. Okay, so we are going to go back. Okay, so that was... Oh, man, now I got to pronounce names. This is a bad idea.
Rough and tumble.
Devane Fuego, 4 days ago on, I believe, the last part of Ironheart of Innis said, John Cena.
Favorite comment on any of the Ironheart.
Also, yeah, this person went through and, oh man, they left a few really good comments. I totally missed these. I think, like I said, thanks to this thing. So, they also said, oh god, the cat smoke creatures are the Vashta Narada, which, for anybody that doesn't know, is a terrible, absolutely awful creature slash sort of ridiculous being or group of beings from Doctor Who. So super cool shout out there, Devane. I hope to the Moon Goddess, what is it, Core, that I'm saying your name right. And then C Maddox 31 said, T breaks it down in the intermission. This should happen every session. And from what it sounded like, it did. So super awesome. All right, so that's it for shout-outs. We don't usually do that, but I realize why I don't, and it's partly because I will potentially pronounce people's names wrong. But all that to say that everybody is back, and it's time to get to the really tough part. So,
Oh, great.
like I said, you guys all, you rush through into this new hallway, and there are, the blood and guts and different corpses of some of the Nothic that tried to follow you through. At your feet, there's a hallway that stretches, seemingly, it's difficult to tell quite how far, but it goes for a little while. What do you guys want to do?
First, can I cast lay hands on myself, I think?
Yeah, absolutely. Any spells that you guys want to cast, or potentially anything else you want to do. It's not necessarily dangerous right here. So,
Have you ever gone running with someone, and then you run for a long time, and then you finish, and there's that like kind of walk around where you're cooling down?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
where it's like you're not quite ready to sit down.
No way. I think John would have beads of sweat on the top of his head, like touching his salt and pepper hair. I think he'd be like flush red faced. I think he would be like spitting, like just like just walking around like like that would absolutely have winded him, especially the action surge. So I think he's doing the walk around like
the hands above his head.
Yeah, like
drinking some water.
Good run, guys. Like that,
Exactly, he's tired. That's fair.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna do lay on hands on myself for, let's see, it's 10 points.
Awesome. I tried to not keep track of how many hit points I did, partly because that's your job, and partly because, like I said, I tend to, if I know that somebody's taken a lot of hits, kind of not try to hit them and things, and I'm like, well, I tried to play it a little more like the monsters might, and let you guys react. Yeah, let you guys react instead. So, part of me is both happy and sad that nobody dropped, but you handled that pretty well, and it was, good of T and, by extension, Crypt Breaker to figure out the answer. So, yeah.
That was close.
That was quick thinking there, James. As it Crypt Breaker James.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And luckily you guys didn't have to find out what would have happened if you answered incorrectly. So, so like I said, you're standing in the hallway. Well, like I said, hopefully you never find out. You're standing in the hallway, and what do you guys want to do?
There's a little pixelated trash can above my head with documents going into it.
Although you read countless folk tales and different letters from lovers, and probably a few tiefling plays in there, and just countless books in this library, and hunting for the small bits of information you needed. Now cleaning up the scratch discs.
Well, on the off chance that they decide to claw through the shelves, we should probably move quickly.
Absolutely. Anyone else need a little healing?
Oh,
Yes.
I could use a bit of help if you don't mind.
All right. I got, what is it? 20. Nope. I got 15 more points to give out. Who needs them?
I would like 4.
I want to do John first because he took a lot of hits.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say, basically I'm at 47, and I can get up to 60. So, however you want to divide it, I don't want to take, because that would be 13. So I don't want to take like everybody's hit points.
I could just do 5 for each because that's all I got though.
Fair is fair.
Okay.
I'll give one of mine to Neath because my max capacity would be 4.
All right.
So you get 6, Neath.
Oh, what's that sound?
What is that?
Laundry's dry.
Okay.
Sounds
So,
good.
Let me go open that door. It'll keep going.
Okay.
So we got the hit points all figured out. You guys all
Yeah, Eden's going to go do Crypt James for 4, Neath for 4, and that leaves 7 for John.
Yeah.
So I'll let him know. I'm just going to write it in the chat.
He's not going to read that. I sent stuff in the chat earlier he just didn't care about.
Dang it. Alright, I'll let him know.
No, yeah, just let him know when he comes back.
Yeah.
I was like half kidding.
I thought that would be like a sibling thing anyway.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Alright, so you got... Oh, he doesn't even have his headphones on.
And he's singing a song, I can see it.
Alright, you got 7 back there, John. I can't hear you, but you got 7 back.
I said 07. Sweet. Thank you.
Welcome. Eden looks at them and says, "That's all I got for now." Like,
Anyone else count hit points on their fingers?
No, man, I got dice and this notepad open.
I do English good. I don't do math so good.
So if you guys continue down the corridor, it looks a lot like other corridors you've walked down here. They seem very long, like almost unreasonably so. You'd imagine there'd be a room here or there, and it's almost like whatever created this didn't plan it out first. Almost like it was just sort of finding its way. But still, it's very beautifully hewn and with the same inlays, the almost luminescent inlays that you saw at some of the first tunnels and some of the walls you were on before. So it's a very weird sort of mixture of, it looks like they didn't know what they were doing when they built this, and it looks like they absolutely knew what they were doing when they built this. And so continuing along, you come to another door. Another, this same sort of very beautiful looking wooden, iron banded, just wooden door, well sanded, lacquered, just a beautiful door by all accounts. And you hear the disembodied voice again. "Well, you figured out the answer. Now," and the door basically opens and creaks open and begins to open away from you.
Well, I want to toss. Is there light in there? Is it also illuminated?
Yeah, it seems to be regularly lit. It's not necessarily dark. If you guys want to do some perception checks, you can see if you hear anything, or the door's open about halfway, by itself. It's almost like a door at your house that might be a little uneven. And if it sits open, if you don't quite close it all the way, it opens itself, but it doesn't swing all the way. It just kind of opens about halfway.
Yeah, I'll definitely do a perception check.
I think as everyone's doing this, John would step up and push it open and step through it.
So
just seriously being like, you know what? I'm tired of this. And so he walks up just like, and he walks through with both of his swords drawn like, "What, you got any more questions?"
And so that is what all of you hear. Before that happens, Eden, you rolled very well. So just before John does that, you hear kind of a clanking on metal, almost like a smithing of some sort, like just a constant clang, like somebody, maybe what you've heard, in your hometown in Varnholm, what it sounds like when the blacksmith is fixing somebody's plate, basically, is just. It just a constant little tinking, not quite the very large hammer that would come down and strike on large iron, but just somebody potentially working small bits. But as you go in, I actually, at first, you don't believe it, Cryptbreaker. You don't necessarily recognize him from the back, and there's a person standing in the middle of a large circular room that you've come into. And the walls are actually lined with these constructs that you saw. And like I said, very large circular room, lots of constructs of varied sort of disrepair. bits and pieces. So some have, one arm, one leg. Some are just a pile of what looks like this old armor. And you walk up, and as he turns around, you notice the person in the middle of the room tinkering on a small workbench is in fact Tomlin.
What?
And he looks, and he just absolutely couldn't look more confused. He's a scholarly man, and he was actually a bit of a know-it-all when you knew him. And so it brings you a very weird sort of satisfaction to see him so confused to see you.
There's just this 4 or 5 second silence as I'm standing here with these armed people, and just like I've wandered into just this scene that shouldn't be, and I'm trying to make sense of it because like they never found a body, they never told me cause of death, just that he was dead, and now he's here. It's just like the very basic kind of, "Hi Tom, what you doing?" Just like I can't process it. Like my Sherlock mode has already been used enough today.
And so he looks at you, and of course he sees, John is just like sweating, probably green pus and stuff all over him. Eden, one exploded in front of her. She's covered in it. Basically just this sort of group of people and Crypt Breaker that is visibly, the non-competent of the party. And of course Tom knows you. And he looks at you and he looks at them and he says, "What are you doing here?"
That's a good question.
And it's at this point that you notice that there's a chain. There are actually shackles around each of Tom's feet, and they one chains from one to the other, and into a sort of a ringlet on the ground. He's chained up here, and there's a lot of slack. He can make his way around the room, but he's very obviously stuck here.
Who's holding you here? And I immediately like pull the thief's tools, like I'm gonna undo the chain.
And he says, there's just a voice. I woke up here and there's a voice, and they told me that you were dead, that they would kill you if I didn't. Did you get my letter?
Yes, I did. I'm already fiddling with the mechanism, just like unrolled it like an archaeologist does with his tiny little hammers and stuff, just like working it already, trying to get him loose.
So the interesting part actually is there is no mechanism. This chain was fastened and more or less smithed, like to this. So basically it was the last ringlet was fastened to the floor by way of some, not necessarily magic, but the idea is there's not necessarily a lock. This chain is literally connected to,
The ringlet.
Yeah, like there's a ringlet on the floor that's metal, and the pieces around his ankles, especially if you get closer, you can tell. There's a bit of scarring, and it's singed where it seems almost like some sort of something more or less blowtorched this metal onto his skin.
God. Okay. I'm half panicking because this changes everything, and I immediately look over at Neith. I was like, Neith, you can you ice? I'm just half panicked at this point, and I'm gesturing to the ringlet where he's attached to see if we can't freeze the metal and maybe shatter it.
Wait. Maybe he's here for a reason. He doesn't look like he's injured or anything.
He's fastened to the floor.
Well, he's not starving. He's not, emaciated. What is the voice having you do?
Tom does say, he says, yes, they do feed me and seemingly keep me alive for some reason. Did you have any luck in the temple?
Yes, we found everything.
So the book, did you bring the book?
And Eden would holds it in front of her, having just grabbed it from the clutches of the Nothics.
And John would say, "Am I going to need these, or can I put them away?" And he's talking about his swords. He sort of
And
holds them up.
he says, "Well, after I was chained here, I've been kept relatively safe. I mean, I haven't seen a sentient being for, it feels like weeks. I don't suppose you'll need them, but, well, you can never tell in this place."
Yeah, I'll keep them out. Yeah, just between me and you.
And so he gestures like to try to, to have you give him the book.
Eden holds it for a moment, but she knows she has the heart in her pack, so she hands it over.
And he looks and he sees, and it's almost like somehow he can tell. He sees and he looks at you, Cryptbreaker, the one that he knows, and he almost very slightly accusatorily, like, "Did you open it?"
Uh,
And he says,
I
"No,
have that. I have that very caught off guard. I should lie, but he already knows from my
Yeah, and it's like, you're absolutely, he can tell based on that, and based on, he can see that the latch has been opened. He clearly, has some knowledge of this, and he can seemingly tell, and he
John
kind of
would
opens
say,
it up.
Well, I was going to say, John would go, "Yeah, we opened it."
And he, so he puts it on his table, and actually on the table is a very large, this slab. It looks like it would be a corner slab, but it's got a very large, like almost bits and pieces of a suit of armor laying like they would be, if you laid your clothes out on the bed. They're not necessarily connected in any way. They look like one of these constructs, these blank men.
they're aligned.
Yeah, they're like laying, and it's kind of like just if you were putting, like bones when you see skeletons laid out. It's like all the rib bones are down, sideways. It doesn't stand upright. And so it's then that you realize, and he opens the book and he puts it down and he opens it and he looks in there, and obviously the heart isn't in there. And he turns and he says, "It's the final piece. It's the last piece. It's the last piece that the voice, he said, it let me go if and he just keeps muttering about this last piece."
Okay. I have to go and take Tom and kind of like steady him. And like, "Tom, what is it for? What's it all for? Why do all these different parties want this? What is it for?"
Well, from what I can tell, and I can only read this language somewhat. There are a few other, and you realize that there are stacks of books and different scrolls, and there isn't much in this place, but you can tell that it's only what he needs. From what I can tell, they're just they're slaves. It's difficult to tell, but it's just there's some mention of magic, and I from what I can surmise, it's not magic at all. It's just it's some sort of machinery. It's difficult, but the idea is it says to place the heart. It was a heart, right? To place the heart in, and it'll come, and the voice said that it would let me out, and that I could go home. And if that's all it takes, it's so good to see you. I have no idea how you got here.
Well, we'll let you out, and you can go home, and we can not bring the mechanical monstrosity to life off the table. How does that sound?
He says, "Well, sure. Anyway's fine for me if you can get me out. But do you have the heart?" And you see in his eyes almost like a desire. He's potentially been working on this for long enough that he's hoping to finish his work. Whether it's not even about becoming freed any longer. It's potentially something more.
Okay. I don't have to lie when I tell Tom, "Not on me, no."
Yeah, and he says,
Very nice.
and he says, "You came all this way without it? Well, if you can get me out, I guess. And with that, the banded iron door closes behind you, and you hear the disembodied voice again. I know you have it. Eden. Eden, you have it, I know. I know a lot about you. You're all glory. Pilgrimage, ha! You go around searching for ways to make your name more, and I won't leave you out, Neath. Murderer. Vile human. It was all your fault. And Crypt Breaker. You hide behind the veil of instructions and being told that you're allowed to go places, but we all know that deep inside you just love to destroy others' memories and steal them. Give me the heart.
No. Come out. I bow before no disembodied voice, and I'm kind of backing up so that John is at least within arm's reach and Neath is at least within shot's reach. Like I'm the Chihuahua that's slowly backing up into the Doberman pack that I hang out with.
And I'd say, I was just, and why didn't you do me? Insulted everybody else. It's insulting that you didn't insult me.
I kind of look over at him and then have to look up at him because he's taller. I was like, he already did you, John.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Neath.
No, back in the library, he already did you.
Yes, old man. You want nothing more than to be remembered.
Man, I don't like you.
You know what? Shut up.
And
I would sort of pat Neath, I just go, you know what? Don't worry about it, buddy. He's full of it.
I would look back at John and, well, I mean, it's not all lies, is it? What opposed to everything else? I mean, it's not all wrong. He's not all full of it. Sometimes things are true. They hurt. They do, but I mean, you got to hear them. So.
Yes, well, whatever you've done, Neath, that's in the past, and just this thing's trying to manipulate us, okay? Eden just kind of looks up at the ceiling, a little bit annoyed, her nose kind of scrunched up, and she says, so what? My family, we worked hard to become what we are on my home of Varnholm. So what if I want to climb the ladder? What is this heart? What do you plan to do with it? Why should we give it to you? If you kill us, if you kill, let's say, your buddy over here who we have changed, no one can put that heart back there. You need us to complete this.
And it sounds a lot like Eden. You don't want to give it up, so what's stopping you? Go ahead, give the heart to one of your teammates. I don't need it. Give it to one of your comrades. You want it for yourself, and we all know it.
And she glances at her comrades for a moment, and she nods. And she kind of looks around the room again. She shrugs her shoulders. Yep, that's true. I won't deny that.
And John sort of looks at Neath again, and he takes out that small piece of armor that we got way back in the room when we were at the college. And he sort of looks at it and he goes, hey, you remember this?
Yeah.
I need you to trust me. All right? And he just holds it up more like a symbol, like, we're brothers. And then John puts the armor away, and he stands over to Tomlin, and he holds a blade to his neck. He basically grabs this tiny little man and holds the blade to his neck, and he says, listen, I don't know this guy. Apparently you need him. And I'd just as soon cut his throat if you don't let us all out of here.
What? Can we not? No? Uh, I'm going to steal an arrow out of Neith's magic bag
Oh no. Oh no.
and just like dagger thrust it into the ringlet that's holding Tomlin in place, with the intention of ice magic.
While I don't think that he would actively oppose you, I would say just go ahead and give me a dexterity check to see if this is a thing that that you're able to sort of accomplish. Mostly because this magical quiver isn't quite like most things, and it will potentially give you a little trouble if you try to, without being attuned to it, grab an arrow out.
Okay. So Arcana or
Oh no, just dexterity. Like you're just gonna try to grab
13.
it, you know. So you reach for this, and you know it's the room is very tense, and there's a very quick motion at this point. You know, John is holding his one of his very large swords up to your friend's neck, and Neith is standing there, you know, feeling a little bit having put into his, it sort of been put into his place, and you know, Eden is basically tensions are running high, and you reach to grab the arrow, and you grab it, you reach and you pull it out, and it isn't ice at all, and it comes out and it's lightning, and yeah, exactly, you just it comes out and begins to sort of glow with lightning, and you swing it down at this this little ringlet, you know, made of what seems like very thick, some sort of copper, and it shatters on there. And in fact, you take 3 points of damage for grabbing an electrical arrow and trying to smash it into this.
ow.
And Eden would speak up again. Yes, I may give up the heart, but I'm more curious. I haven't heard of many benevolent, you know, disembodied voices in any kind of tales on my quote-unquote pilgrimage. Anyways, is this, I'm curious, is this a part of the blank men? And I was wondering, can she do like what kind of check? Investigation? Like maybe there's something leading back to those old fairy tales she used to hear?
Well, I would say, yeah, go ahead and do a history check. You've been through sort of the architecture of a lot of different things, and based on some of the literature you've seen and potentially, been sort of exposed to. Basically, you suddenly remember, almost as though you were there. Maybe there was a very vivid story told. Maybe you had a dream as a kid, and you remember stories of these blank men. And to you, it was just that. You know, you were told that they made the world better. And when you were a kid, you were certainly told that, you know, they were these things that would come get you in the night if you weren't good. But as you grew up, almost in the same way that sort of the fairy tale or the myth of, say, Santa Claus would change slightly, or you'd be told that it's more about the spirit of the thing, that you would learn about these, you know, you learned about these things that were created to serve. You know, these they didn't like to use the word slaves, but the idea was these were just repositories of information. And these things, these large constructs, you know, exactly like what you've seen, full of this magical energy, would sing happy birthday at parties. You know, they would perform poems, and they would say, you know, basically, you know, sing songs. They would recite information. They would keep information, and they never fought. that was probably the most important thing, is that these were not creatures of battle. This is, of course, in direct contrast to Neith's sort of his vision. Is, in his mind, he of course doesn't know any of this information, but in his mind, he saw the complete opposite. And so you have a very different idea of what these things are and how they work, and to you, it doesn't seem like it would be the worst thing in the world to give up this heart.
Right. And so, upon recollecting and really thinking about it while Cryptbreaker James was trying to free Tomlin, she looks up again, this look of almost hopefulness on her face, that if this is real, and not just this childhood thing, these tales that she grew up with, like, that'd be amazing. And she touches her pack and pulls it to the front of her for a moment and looks around the room again and asks sincerely, are you, or will you be one of these blank men?
And you don't actually hear a response. The room, as soon as the heart comes out of your pack, the room sort of goes silent. And, this thing has spoken to you throughout, and sort of a silence hangs in the air. And Tomlin, behind the sword, just says, James, please help me.
But
And John would just kind of lower the sword and go, I was bluffing.
you didn't let you
Well, I think John would then say, he'd look sincerely at Cryptbreaker James, and he'd say, you got the biggest brain, I think, of anyone I've ever met. You're a little quirky, and you're starting to get to be better at fighting, but you gotten us this far. And then he would look over at Eden. He'd say, and Eden, you got a mind for these sort of things. You definitely have experience with this stuff. And we wouldn't have gotten this far without you either. And then he would look over at Neith. And he'd say, I'm not proud of everything I've done. And there's parts of my heart that are a little darker than most people's. But you know what I know about you? You got the biggest damn heart I ever seen. So my vote is, Neith, what do you think we should do? Because I think you have the most insight on these kinds of matters. My vote is whatever Neith says. And then he sort of like stands next to Neith.
What? Wait. What? No. What do you mean?
James looks over at Neith and is kind of cradling Tom at the same time, jangling the chains a little bit, but seems in agreement. What do you think, Neith?
What do you mean? I'm just a dog, right? I mean, I'm just, I say funny things, and then after that, I use my bow and I put things in the ground. I don't.
A dog. You're still a person just like the rest of us, Neith. Have your say. Please.
Well, all right. Look, this voice, this thing, right? It wants the art. Well, I mean, we can show it to him, but we've got to have some concessions. After all, I mean, we can't just. We're not just going to leave him. Don't really know if we want to give him the art, but if we can show it to him, we can get James's friend out. You know what's going to happen, right? I mean, we're going to give this thing the art, then it's going to grow into something really awful that we're going to have to kill, and either we're going to all die, or we're going to kill it, have stories for a while, and I don't know about you, but after this, I'd probably head right to the pub and have 4, 5, 6 barrels of what not.
Well, I think.
So-
That's what I'm thinking.
In the middle of all of this, Eden, I need you to give me a wisdom saving throw.
Wisdom. 7.
You hear a voice in your head that says, "Give me the heart." And it's Tomlin. And you feel very compelled to listen. So compelled, in fact, that you are now charmed and required to act.
Shit.
So basically, you are required to attempt to give Tomlin the heart. Of course, the rest of you see this. It's unlikely that she does so quickly, but she certainly does attempt to.
Eden kind of stares at the heart, still thinking. When Neith speaks up, she can't help but say, "But I know I seem to be flip-flopping, but if this is what I think it is, it might be a good thing." And sorry, she says this as she hears Tomlin's voice in her head, and she just nods again, kind of to herself, and she says, I think we should do it." And she walks over to him with the heart out in her hand. It's a big metal heart.
So now, there's only one way I can imagine making this fair, and it's by rolling initiative. More or less, depending on the way this falls, she will successfully give him the heart. And what happens, happens. So everybody roll initiative, and I will do the same.
Yeah, I can tell you that after like that, like what he said, and kind of like we're all in agreement, like, yeah, I would sort of let it roll. I'd let it happen. Like, I don't even think I would try to stop anything, because it was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's give him the heart, and like you said, concessions. We need to get him, let's show it to him. I think John's guard would be a little more down, and he would sort of be like, oh, Eden, you're gonna do it? You're just doing it? Like, not necessarily gonna stop her outright, kind of like, oh, this is awkward.
Yeah, because she was like, "Nah, I do honestly want it for myself." And all of a sudden it's like, okay, yeah, I'll give it to him.
James probably wouldn't see anything just because his back is either turned or he's still focused on getting the manticles trying to free his friend, so probably wouldn't even be looking at Eden at the time. So I will abstain as well.
And I also used the right die this time and rolled higher than all of your not so great average initiative rolls. I mean, I swear, Neith and Eden both roll 19s and 20s on initiative every time, and this is one case in which they did not. So with a higher initiative and based on what you all said, she hands the heart over to him. And he takes it, and at this point, James, you probably you feel, if you're cradling him or sort of near him, you feel him move, and he holds it in his hands, and he kind of cradles it in 2 hands, and he strokes it almost, and where he strokes it, there's almost a sort of a streak left that is somewhat iridescent, and he rubs it, and he turns around, and he begins to place it in the middle of sort of this construct that's laying out, that's just bits and pieces all over, and he lays it down, and nothing happens. And there's a little bit of confusion, and he begins looking through the book and reading, and he's flipping, and then suddenly there's a sound, and again you hear the disembodied voice, and it just says, "Thank you." And that's going to be where we end session 5 of the Iron Heart of Innis.
Wait! You're welcome.
Oh, I like this. I like this a lot.
I don't. We probably just released a half cyborg Tarask with like shoots lasers out of its eyes or something.
Ah, crap.
Half cyborg Tarask.
Yep, the other half is vampire. The half cyborg, half vampire, and then like a third shapeshifter Tarask.
Yeah, there's an extra 33% in there that's just something else potentially.
You mean like the Displacer Beast? Just pop this giant Tarask, just...
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's now suddenly there's there's a Tarask that's running around on the overland, teleporting like Godzilla and destroying everything, laying eggs. Like it's just that's it. That's done. That's it, guys.
It's the T1. It was the T800.
The T800
Model 101. So here's a question for the Dungeon Master: is that the last session, or is there another one?
I'm struggling with that a little bit because I planned on this being the last session. Partly to surprise you guys, but partly because, like I said, you sort of... I didn't want this session to feel like filler. I didn't want to, knowing that I planned on 6 sessions, do something that I didn't plan on so that I could fill 6 sessions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
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 So basically, it's a little bit weird, but I think that there will be one more session. But similar to this one, I think it will be a little shorter for the sake of the pacing of the story, based on how we play it. So basically, we're going to have like an epilogue. It will be session 6, but it will probably be potentially as long as this one, not as long as usual. This one, of course, was a little shorter because it is a weeknight for all of us. We had some scheduling issues for any viewers that are curious. And it's Monday night, of course, so I don't know about you guys, but I have work in the morning, whereas usually we play on a Friday night, and I'm a little less tied to that, as well as, like I said, I planned out the story, and where we got, I either needed to fit it all in this session, or I needed to do this session and one more that's potentially a little shorter. So yeah, that's going to be it for tonight. We'll do some outros. Of course, your thoughts on the game if you'd like for the live viewers here. Again, Cassie, we'll start with you.
All right, I'm Cassie. I played Eden Breakers today. This is definitely... I'm very excited for the next and possibly last session. This is very exciting. Anyways, check out my Deviant art at Fox Cunning Trickster, or my Etsy. I'm called the Porch Potter. Got some cool little things going on, and yeah, thank you for watching. This is a good one.
Yeah. All right, so over to you, Mike.
I'm Mike with Mike Piper, and I had a great time. That Nothic fight was just crazy, and it just goes to show, especially if this is something you guys should really think, like for the viewers and that even if you have a creature that is just basically a little splat creature that you can just one-shot hit, it's still enough for you to go, oh man, there's like 10 of them.
Yeah.
And they're all attacking, and it hurts a lot. So that is something really cool to take inspiration off, so I thought that was incredibly well done. I still love the overall pacing is wonderful in this story. I think you've done a phenomenal job, James. Not Crit Breaker James. And I'm very happy and honored that you invited me to play in this game, and I so look forward to the last game. Well, I don't look forward to it because it's the last one, but you get the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and of course, thank you very much. I really wasn't sure how that would go over the whole fight. There was a chance that it was really cool or that it fell flat because I just decided to throw the rules out and kind of make some up of my own. And I think it went okay. Yeah, I think it went pretty well. That was a lot of fun. So, yeah. All right, over to you, Tim.
I concur with Mike. I think these sessions are so fun for me because they feel different than any other game I play in. And even though, James, you and I are a lot alike, our DM style is way different. And I like playing in your games because it almost feels like playing, for me, like in a Neil Gaiman book. Like, I get the sense that I'm in the book and that each session is a chapter of the book. And it's just a very unique style, and I love that. So I concur. I agree entirely with Mike. I'm really glad that I get to play and that you're DMing. And so the other thing is, to kind of use a segue, is that the Beyond the Rules Facebook group is the perfect place to come up with ideas like Mike and James were talking about and float them past people to see if there are any, just any and ones or gotchas that might be something you didn't consider that could be game breaking. But James, I'm really glad you broke the rules. You went beyond the rules, know, because it made the session feel way more fluid and so much more fun. Like, we got to be the cool bad guy killers, and I loved that. So, for anyone watching, go to Tabletop RPGs Beyond the Rules. It's a Facebook group. We'll approve you when you join, but it's talking about this kind of stuff. If you like the vibe of this game, then that's the kind of stuff we'll talk about. So I'll throw it to the next person.
Yeah, so that's over to you, T.
Well, I am T the writer. I played Cryptbreaker James today. You can certainly look forward to hearing an epic bardic retelling of this game on my channel, the 5th part of the Iron Heart of Business. What's a good way to put this? I do enjoy the idea that I feel like I'm in a functioning world. Like, the world does not revolve around us, and it doesn't feel like it does. This is just a small space. I don't feel like I'm on a reserve. I feel like we can go where we want, do what we want, go at our own pace. And the fact that these 4 people gel so well together, in character and out, that makes it such a good experience. And you don't stutter step, you don't fall, you're not checking your notes, checking your facts, you're rolling with it the whole way. You're a very good DM. I feel like I'm in a story, not just walking through a diorama with moving parts,
Yeah.
It feels organic.
Absolutely. And it's very funny that you say that. First, I'll say that, of course, I really appreciate that, of course, all the praise from you, that, all of you. But the main thing is that's one of the main tenets that I try, and I think, honestly, Tim and I do this in a lot of the writing we do, is there's no reason that the thing you're doing now, the thing you're writing about, the world doesn't revolve around it. And that is what I was trying to evoke. So like I said, it's huge for me that you would say that, because I'm shooting for the idea that this isn't all for you. Of course the DMing is, but like, you guys are just some guys, and nobody knows your name, and potentially you had reputations wherever you came from, but you walk through town and nobody knows who you are, and they don't care. They've got their own problems, and
yes,
I was really shooting for that. So like I said, that's really big, and going off of what Tim said, in that same way, that end, I wanted it to feel like you guys were in an epic battle, and I wasn't sure how to do that, so I came up with that idea. And that's another big deal, is just try something like that. Because if it started to fall flat, what I would have done is I would have changed it up a little. I decided that it should be a bonus action for you guys to look through the books, because I didn't want you to take a bunch of hits. Well, basically, if you just kept having to use all of your actions to fight the Nothic, you'd never get anything done,
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I think it went really well, and I'm glad that I went off the rails and tried that, and yeah. So.
Well, and Tony, can I just say that I loved how you played that out? That was one of my favorite things that I've seen Cryptbreaker James do. Was this whole session, I felt like you've really evolved as a character in character. Like when we fought the the bone naga, and you've kind of started to grow. And I loved this Sherlock Holmes kind of like this is your element, and it was so cool to see you be like a bad to the bone dude with knowledge. That was awesome. So well played.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that is my favorite part about coming up with the story over the time between our breaks is I can never, ever, ever anticipate what you guys are going to do or say, and it's so much fun to have to just, like, throw stuff out there and, like, see what you guys do, and then play off of that, you know, especially with your characters and different things. I feel like because of some of the what's it called, like the environments you were in, you didn't have a chance really, or rather I didn't have a chance to tell your character stories as much as I'd hoped. So I'm trying to kind of, you know, fit those in there and stuff. And yeah, so far this is I'm having fun with it. So I think that's what's important to me.
It is.
Definitely.
So yeah, with that, guys, that's going to close out session 5 of the Iron Heart of Innis. We will post sometime soon when the next game is going to be. We've had a lot of different scheduling things come up, so we don't know for sure. We did have a schedule set out, but as life does, it happened and things changed. So basically, hopefully by the end of this month, we'll have finished it up. We will have our epilogue session, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye bye.